Hey 4xe fans, in this video I want to talk just a little bit about why you should never buy a cheap charger, actually called an EVSE, but we'll use the word charger just because so many people use that term. The charger is actually built into the vehicle. The EVSE is what gets installed in your garage or wherever, and you plug that in the vehicle. So that's called an EVSE, not a charger, but I'm going to use the word charger just because that's what people know. But here's why you should never buy a cheap charger for your 4xe. Let's say you either bought new or you bought used. You're spending anywhere from $45,000 to $75,000 on up, depending on if you got a Grand Cherokee, and if it's a Summit and all that stuff, you can get in the upper 70s and all that stuff. So you've just spent that much money on a vehicle. The charger becomes a major part of that charging experience and driving experience with your 4xe, and there is just no reason to go cheap on that part of the purchase. I know it's tempting because you've just spent a lot of money and you don't want to continue to spend a lot of money, and it can be difficult if you start trying to pencil that out. You've got to pencil it out over like 18,000 miles for it to really make sense. But let me assure you, as somebody who is geeked out about the 4xe since it came out, and has been involved in the Jeep 4xe fans group and has been somewhat involved in the forum, I can just tell you through my eyes and my experience, there have been a lot of people that have had issues with those cheap chargers, those cheap EVSEs. If they're not UL rated, if they're not an American company, I mean, I don't want to say you have to go with an American or Canadian company, but if they haven't met some standards, it's probably not worth the risk. We have seen a lot of people that have had service hybrid system issues. That alarm comes up, and repeatedly we have seen people that have used particular brands. I'm not going to name any brands in this video because I just don't want anybody to take an issue with me, but there are certain brands, and I would say they're in that $250 and under range. You probably want to lean more towards the $400 and up range, to be honest, to avoid these issues. And if you go and sort in Amazon, you'll pretty quickly figure out which ones those are. But there are like Sun Country in Canada, ClipperCreek in the United States. ClipperCreek has been my favorite since 2016. It's just a great, it's an inexpensive EVSE, but it is UL rated, and it has a lot of, it doesn't have a lot of fancy features, but it has the features that you need. It has the things that you need to get the job done. You can do a charge point, you can do a Grizzly, you can do the wall box, you can do those, and whatever it is that Mopar currently has, in the beginning, the Mopar EVSE was actually a ClipperCreek / Sun Country, depending on if you're Canadian or American. But all of those that Mopar, suggests, yeah, it's going to have a price tag, but it has been tested. It is a good unit, and it is going to work. And I'm not saying you have to go with that one, and I'm not saying you have to go with any of the ones that I've listed, but I will put some links down into the comments below of ones that are known to do well, ones that we have not seen issues with. Please don't take that as any kind of endorsement or sponsorship. That's not in any way, shape, or form. I use a ClipperCreek, and hardly anybody uses a ClipperCreek just because they don't have app functions and they don't have all that stuff that people like to do. But I get my data through another source. I use Emporia. So I just wanted to share that as a bit of advice. I'm at the 5-decade mark now, so I feel like I'm old enough to offer a little bit of advice, but take that from somebody who has just been part of the 4xe community since before the 4xe came out and has tracked on some of these issues. And they're just those brands that you do want to avoid in the 4xe. She is a discerning beast. She is. She does not like just any charger plugged into her. There are things that the 4xe seems to expect that has a higher standard of expectation, and so you can have issues there. And so I don't know. I just wanted to share that, and thanks for watching. Take care.